historic alliance with the United States is far more important and far more immediate, and we must do everything we can to preserve it.
Polls are starting to move. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got Mark Carney's defense minister getting caught in his own lie. Security clearance, briefing Poilievre. Turns out they're not briefing anyone. We got a ton of stuff going on here. Let's jump into this. Starting this episode off, Melissa posting this. Cool IT sold to Ecolab for $4.75 billion in the biggest ever Canadian tech takeover. So what's going on here? As she says, US-based Ecolab just bought Canadian-based Cool IT for one of the largest Canadian tech overs. Elbows up. This is going to be a theme throughout this video. Moving ahead, we've got Angus Reid showing gas prices that nobody likes. And what's become the top issue of Canadians? Well, we've got this poll here, which breaks down based on income. The red line are households under 50K a year. The bottom one is over 100K a year. And the blue one here is in between. The black is an average. And well, you can see the skyrocket from September 2025 last year, and now it's up to 68% for people making under 50K a year. And even 50 to 100K, this is rising. So Carney's got some problems here. He's going to keep rolling out his net zero agenda, and things are going to get worse, and he's going to continue to lose support. That's why he's trying to just steal this majority government. If he can lock that in for 4 years, he can roll out his net zero agenda, get it all lined up in 4 years, lose the next election, and he still gets stinking rich. And what we're seeing here now is the Conservatives recovering. So they were down 32% on the last poll here from Angus Reid, and they're back up to 36. So that's increasing 4%. Carney's gone down 1%, and only an 8% delta here. We are seeing some deltas up to 15%. Ecos had one higher than that, but Ecos isn't an honest pollster. I don't even show them on the channel. Clearly, they're just weighted to favor the Liberals. Moving ahead, we've got some 40% of top 1% of Canadian earners have emigrated to the US. This is a tragedy to Canada. So it shows it down here, the concentration points of the selective immigration of high ability workers. The analysis establishes that a substantial share of Canadians who would rank among the top earners in Canada have immigrated to the United States, roughly 40% of the top 1% earners. These are the people who pay a good portion of taxes in Canada. Because when you have someone making over $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, $100 million, $500 million a year, they're paying substantial taxes here. So if they leave to go to America, we don't have money to pay for this huge debt and deficit that Mark Carney is running up. And scrolling up to the top, we've got some interesting data here. We've got this total real GDP per capita. This is the one that the Liberals do not like. From 2014 to 2024, this is Justin Trudeau's legacy, basically. We've got Ireland at the top, 81%, and where's Canada? Yeah, near the bottom, almost at the bottom, 3.2%, just above Mexico and Luxembourg. And for comparison, everyone want to know where is America? Way up here, 20.2%. And with the cost of living being so difficult in Canada, we've got Gregor Robertson announcing 1,200 to 1,500 affordable homes with $100 million in funding. Whoop-de-doo. I've already done the math on this. The amount of people they're bringing in, obviously it fluctuates with how many refugees and asylum and study permits, Lima, all that, but it's well more than 1,500 people per day. So they're announcing up to 1,500 homes in New Brunswick, and this gets gobbled up in one day of the new people coming to Canada. Now, sure, not all of them are going to New Brunswick, but I mean, it's more than that. Over 2,000 people a day. Obviously, there's a problem here.
The costs that cuts the red tape that we have, anything that slows it down, we need to accelerate the pace of construction and deepen the affordability. And that's why
Yeah, they're not doing anything. And as Johnny Seabass says, the war in Iran must have ended, poking fun of Gregor Robertson, blaming the housing prices on that. Moving ahead, we've got some other polling data here. David Coletto Abacus data. 1 in 5 Canadians believe the federal government has made meaningful progress on housing affordability since the last election. It's interesting how he words that. 1 in 5 believe the Canadian government has made meaningful progress versus saying 4 in 5 Canadians think the government is not making progress on housing affordability. 2/3 of Canadians see little to no progress on home ownership affordability since the federal election. A lot, 4% says a lot, which is, well, clearly brainwashed liberals. 17% some, little, 26%, none, 40% not sure, 13. With all that going on, Pierre Poilievre going around like a statesman in America. Once again, we've got him here with Bill Ackman, CEO of Perishing Square, for meetings to discuss on how to strengthen relationships, bring affordability on opportunity with tariff-free trade, and stamp out anti-Semitism in the West. Mark Carney still on vacation, and Pierre Poilievre down in America cleaning his clock. This is awful optics for Carney. He is going to lose points in the polls. We're already seeing it. With that financial post coming out with net zero is dead, why is Carney still pushing it? I replied on a lot of these things because Canadians see this stuff. It gets them thinking. Raise his hand. Oh, pick me. I know why. So I just highlight his carried interest here. People can just look at it. I got some of the math here on the side. Carney's set to make millions, if not $1 billion+ off of this net zero agenda. The more people who know this, they tell their friends, we got to get this guy out of here. And while we're talking about net zero agenda, we got Suzuki here lamenting immense. Environmentalists have lost the climate fight. Oh, he didn't lose. He won big. This guy's made millions of dollars off this grift. You know, I love David Suzuki growing up. Once you get your eyes open to what's going on, it's just so sad. As FlexJS says, he owned 5 houses at one point. F him. He was never an environmentalist. This guy's a house in one of the nicest areas in Vancouver, the most expensive areas. Going back to Pierre Poilievre, here he is last night in New York City. This posted by a conservative Shelby Camp Newman, making more connections down there. This is a good look. I really like the American and Canadian flag side by side. Pierre's speech there, which we'll get to here in a second. Fighting for Canada, fighting for tariff-free. He's becoming the guy who's fighting for tariff-free trade in Canada while Carney's on vacation. With that, we've got David McGinty here as a CBC watcher posting, with jaw-dropping arrogance here. I don't know why this is a difficult thing to get through. He gets asked once again about Kuwait, and he's getting pissed off about this question.
Thank you, Dale Carruthers from the London Free Press. My question is for Minister McGinty. Minister, I want to ask you about the March 1st attack by Iranians on a military base in Kuwait in which Canadian forces were stationed. We just want to clarify when you first learned about this attack.
Thanks for the question. I was first informed about the situation in the Middle East while abroad with the Prime Minister on a global tour in the Indo-Pacific. As a matter of practice, I don't comment, we don't comment for operational security reasons on these kinds of situations. Our first and foremost responsibility is for the safety and security of the women and men of the Canadian Armed Forces. So a decision was made not to comment, and we don't comment. It's also important for us to recall that from the very beginning, Canada was not consulted with respect to the decision by the Israeli and American governments to launch an attack on Iran. We have not been involved, and we're not going to be involved.
And that's why they didn't tell us. They didn't have to say Kuwait base was hit or whatever. They didn't have to say where it was hit. All they had to say is that Iran has attacked us and we need to retaliate. And that's what they don't want. They don't want Canada getting involved in any capacity whatsoever. This is all political.
I'll also make it very clear, as I said repeatedly now, if neighboring states around Iran, in the Middle East and the Gulf, require the assistance of NATO allies, this is something that NATO allies are considering. And Canada is also considering. Now, it's also a very dangerous situation. It's changing hour by hour, and it is sometimes difficult to get clear and hard intelligence. So we're watching it very carefully.
Well, thank you, Minister. And for my follow-up question, so you knew about this before La Presse reported on it 11 days later, and also
No, I didn't know about it before La Presse reported on it. I saw the La Presse story while I was overseas.
So you learned through
He said Indo-Pacific.
the media report.
I know that there was a situation in the Middle East, but this is something that we do not talk about. I don't know why this is a difficult thing to get through. We do not put the men and women of the Canadian Armed Forces in harm's way or at risk. We do not share operational information, especially in the context of what was then an evolving, difficult, and fragile and expanding war. This has been the policy of the Department and the CAF for some time. I take my lead from the operational experts inside the Canadian Armed Forces.
Well, thank you, Minister.
So he called them out, though, and said, well, you're in the Indo-Pacific. It would have been the start of the war. And then he said, well, actually, we didn't really know. We had a vague idea. He got called out. They knew right from the start. I mean, look at this. We've got Prime Minister went over to India February 27th to March 2nd. February 28th is when America attacked Iran. He said he was in Indo-Pacific. They knew right from the beginning. They just didn't want to tell us. They could have just said, Iran attacked us. We need to retaliate. We're going to work with our counterparts, work with America. They didn't want to do that. It's all political. This is disgusting.
And for my follow-up, the leaders of the Bloc Québécois, the Greens and the NDP have called on you to brief them, a classified briefing. Is that something you commit to at this time?
I would hope that all the leaders of the parties obtain their top secret clearance. It's something that we have put forward now repeatedly for all parties.
The Bloc already have their clearance. This guy hasn't briefed them. He keeps slagging Pierre Poilievre for not getting security clearance, and he's not even briefing the people who have security clearance.
The question of whether they should be briefed or not is one I'll take back. Thank you.
This guy's ridiculous. And Elizabeth May has her security clearance too, so she's gagged. She can't speak about it, but this guy hasn't briefed her either. I don't know if Don Davies has security clearance, but I mean, he could already brief 2 of them.
I really would like the leader of the official opposition, Mr. Poilievre, with all due respect to him and the role he plays, I would like him to get a top secret clearance so he can come in and get actually briefed on the situation on the ground.
You can see this was from March 17th, 2026, just 3 days ago.
I think if Mr. Poilievre had the requisite security clearance.
Here's McGinty from January 29th. They've been doing this a while now.
I would encourage him
to get that security briefing. I would encourage him to get the top secret clearance so he can join us in the response, our national response to what is not only a national but an international scourge.
Yeah, they don't even want to tell Canadians that we were attacked by Iran. As we see from this article here, back February 8th, 2026, so this year, and right at the bottom here, it says, Bloc Québécois leader Yves Francois Blanchet subsequently obtained his security clearance. He could already been briefed. They're not briefing them. This is just a way to gag these guys. As Polyev maintained here, it's a gag order. That's all it is. And this is proving it. They're not giving them information. And it mentions right above, with Elizabeth May, underwent process of obtaining top security clearance. This here has blown up their entire scam. McGuinty made a major mistake in this press conference. He just exposed that they don't give the information to those with top security clearance. This takes away their entire argument. Jumping ahead here, we've got Pierre Polyev giving another speech. So I believe he's giving one at the Economic Club in Toronto that I showed in the previous video. Well, this one is in New York. And I highly recommend you watch this full video too. This is posted on Pierre Polyev's channel. This was another good speech, but we'll just go through a bit of the Q&A here because I thought these responses are spot on.
What we see when we look around the world is the countries that have the most economic freedom, have the highest standard of living, the least poverty, the best life expectancy, all of the best social conditions. They're all in places with free enterprise. So my purpose is to make Canada the freest economy in the world.
We heard Prime Minister Carney recently lay out a vision and a partnership with China. So when you think about, the strains in the relationship of the United States, and I think that's partly why he did that. What are the differences that you can think about in trade between China and, say, the United States?
Well, I'm not going to disparage my prime minister on foreign turf, so I won't counter his position here. There'll be plenty of time for that in the House of Commons. Please tune in at 2:15 Monday through Thursday for question period, and we'll try to put on a good show. So have your popcorn ready.
That's hilarious. So once again, you see he's not going after Mark Carney, which means the Liberals can't go after him, saying he's anti-Canada. He's doing quite the opposite here. And what Pierre is doing is setting himself up as the guy who's dealing with Donald Trump. Mark Carney is on vacation over in Rome right now, and Tim Hodgson also on vacation. So there's this huge hole where the government is not operating. At least the top two guys are not getting out in the media, and Pierre is filling the void here with his trips to different locations in America. Joe Rogan, he's got this speech. Then there's the next one in Toronto at the Canadian Club. It's the Canadian Club Toronto. This is the next one here, April 16th, 2026. He's taking over the media circuit with Tim Hodgson and Carney on vacation. This might be a major mistake by those guys.
But here, I would just say, look, we trade. This is not a criticism of the Prime Minister. It's just my view. You've asked me to compare the Chinese market with the American market. We've got to trade. We've got to trade and talk with China, and we have to engage with that country. As I said, it's a brilliant civilization and an incredibly industrious people. But there is no getting away from the fact that we sell 20 times as much to the United States as we sell to China. We live right next door. The United States, American capitalism is the most powerful force in the history of economics. The American military is by far the most powerful military in the history of armaments. And of course, the American people are our friends. So our alliance, our historic alliance with the United States, is far more important and far more immediate, and we must do everything we can to preserve it.
And, you've talked about the trade. We have, over 60% of trade with the U.S. now?
Yeah.
And we do have over 50 free trade agreements with the world.
Yes.
3/4 of the GDP. It is important to diversify as well, but, it's a fraction of what we can achieve by keeping our relationship with the U.S. and even expand it. How do you see, the diversification versus engaging and keeping trade with the U.S.?
So first off, our trade is 78% with America. It's not 60%. So it's closer to 80 than 60.
I think we can do both. I think the two are additive. One does not replace the other. When we increase exports overseas, it's not to subtract them from the United States, it's to add to them. Even if we were to, if somehow amazingly managed to replace all of our exports to the United States with some other country, we would be no further ahead. We would be where we are right now. And of course, that could never even happen. The things that we need to do to diversify overseas, principally things that we need to do at home. As you said, we already have 50 free trade agreements. The challenge is not that other countries won't let our products in, it's that we have a hard time getting them out. Give you one example, or two examples very quickly. One new pipeline to Canada's west coast, would allow for more overseas exports than we currently do all year with China. So one pipeline would be more economically important than our entire export to the U.S., to China. I'll give you another example. I was just in North Germany the other day. They were relying almost exclusively on the Russians for their gas. Russia invaded Ukraine in February of 2022. By May, they had a permit for a brand new import terminal. By Christmas of that year, they had completed that terminal and were accepting their first shipments. 95% of that natural gas comes from the United States of America, even though Canada has half the shipping time to Europe, and it's 25% cheaper to liquefy in Canada because of our cold weather doing a lot of the work for us. Why were the ships that I looked out at sea and saw bringing the gas in, why was that coming from the U.S. Gulf Coast, from Louisiana and Texas, and not from Atlantic Canada? Because we don't have any LNG plants in Atlantic Canada today. And we don't have them because we don't have the permits. So our biggest obstacle to diversifying trade are restrictions we impose on ourselves. But the good news is we can remove those restrictions and we can reach the world with our abundant resources.
The real problem is the Liberals put these rules in and they don't want to get rid of them because they want to roll out a net zero agenda just to benefit Mark Carney and his cronies. While Carney and his cronies are invested in oil and gas, I mean, Brookfield has numerous investments. They're not in Canada. They'll greenwash everything possible in this hopes to trick Canadians into this utopia when it's right underneath our feet. We should be shipping out that oil, that gas. Quebec should have their own LNG set up in their own province. It's absolutely ludicrous that we're not absolutely thriving. We should be the top nation in the world. People should be begging to come here. We shouldn't be getting the gangsters, goons, and goblins from Africa coming into our country. It should be like winning the lottery coming to this country.